Have you ever felt like a pawn in someone else's game, where your value was measured only by how much you could serve their interests? It's a gut-wrenching realization, isn't it? You're giving your time, your energy, and your emotional resources only to find that the reciprocity you deserve is absent. If this feels familiar, you're not alone. Many of us fall into this trap, whether in friendships, romantic relationships, or even professional settings. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be this way. You have the power to take control, redefine your worth, and transform the way you approach relationships. Why does this happen, though? Why do we sometimes allow ourselves to be used? Often, it stems from societal misconceptions about kindness and sacrifice. We're taught to give without limits, to prioritize others over ourselves, and to equate love with self-denial. But what if this narrative is flawed? What if true self-respect lies in understanding your value and setting boundaries, not in being a martyr to someone else's agenda? Today we'll explore 7 transformative ways to ensure you never let anyone use you again. Each step is not just a strategy, it's a mindset shift rooted in the principles of Stoicism and personal empowerment. Together we'll uncover practical insights that will help you regain control, build healthier connections, and create a life of purpose and respect. Let's begin by understanding the cost of being used and why it's a cycle you must break. 1. The cost of being used, emotional and practical consequences. Think for a moment about the last time you felt taken advantage of. Was it a friend who only called when they needed a favor? A partner who demanded support but offered little in return? A boss who exploited your dedication without acknowledgement? These situations aren't just annoying, they're deeply harmful to your well-being. But why do they sting so much? When you allow yourself to be used, you're sending a silent message to others and to yourself that your time, energy, and emotions are not worth safeguarding. This mindset erodes your self-esteem over time. You might start to question your worth, doubting whether you truly deserve relationships that feel balanced and fair. And what happens next? Resentment builds, tension grows, and you find yourself emotionally drained. But it's not just about feelings, it's also practical. Let's talk about time. Time is your most finite resource, yet when you let others use you, you're essentially giving it away without receiving anything meaningful in return. Imagine what you could achieve if you redirected that time toward your goals, your passions, or people who truly value you. And then there's the issue of opportunity. When you're tied up catering to someone else's needs at your expense, what opportunities are you missing out on? Maybe it's the chance to deepen a meaningful friendship, pursue a new career path, or simply recharge your energy. Whatever the cost, it's steep, and you're the one paying the price. This cycle of being used often starts subtly. Perhaps you rationalize someone's behavior. They're just having a tough time, or maybe I'm overreacting. But here's a tough question. At what point do their needs stop being an exception and start becoming a pattern? Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control how others treat us, but we can control how we respond. Reflect on this for a moment. What if the real harm in being used isn't what others do, but how we allow ourselves to remain in situations that diminish us? By acknowledging this truth, you can begin to reclaim your agency and shift your focus toward relationships that enrich rather than deplete you. This shift requires courage. It means examining your life honestly and asking, where am I sacrificing too much? What am I losing by staying silent? It also means recognizing that relationships built on exploitation, no matter how familiar or comfortable they feel, are not sustainable. Think of it like a tree bearing fruit. A healthy tree thrives because its roots are nourished. But if someone strips away its resources, it eventually withers. You are that tree. If you constantly give without receiving, how can you continue to grow? The cost isn't just temporary, it's cumulative. And unless you act, the long-term consequences could leave you emotionally and practically bankrupt. But let's not stop at identifying the problem. Awareness is only the first step. As we move forward, we'll dive into actionable ways to prevent this dynamic and take back control of your life. Are you ready to redefine your relationships and break free from the cycle of being used? Let's explore the signs of manipulation next, because you can't fix what you can't see. 2. Recognizing the signs of manipulation. Have you ever wondered why some people seem so adept at taking advantage of others while others, perhaps yourself, end up feeling drained, used, and confused? Manipulation is rarely obvious. It's a subtle art that thrives on your lack of awareness. But here's the truth. Recognizing manipulation is the first and most crucial step toward breaking free. Manipulative people rely on patterns, and those patterns aren't as random as they seem. The tactics they use, flattery, guilt-tripping, or even playing the victim, are designed to disarm you. They seek to erode your boundaries until their needs become your priority. Do you know anyone like that? Picture this scenario. A friend always comes to you with their problems, expecting your full attention, yet they're nowhere to be found when you need a listening ear. Or perhaps it's a partner who showers you with affection when they want something but grows distant or critical when you stand your ground. How do you feel when you think about these interactions? Exhausted? Angry? Used? These emotions are your first clue that something isn't right. Let's dissect some common manipulation tactics so you can identify them in your own life. First, there's flattery with a hidden agenda. It feels nice when someone praises you, doesn't it? But ask yourself, are these compliments genuine, or are they a setup for a request? For example, you're so amazing at organizing things. Can you handle the entire event for me? Notice how the praise is tied to a demand. Then there's guilt tripping, one of the most insidious methods. Have you heard phrases like, "If you really cared about me, you'd do this for me," or "I can't believe you'd let me down like this"? Manipulators wield guilt like a weapon, banking on your desire to avoid conflict or hurting others. But here's a question for you. Is it truly your responsibility to bear the weight of someone else's happiness? Another subtle tactic is playing the victim. Manipulators often cast themselves as helpless, misunderstood, or constantly wronged by the world. They frame their problems in a way that makes you feel obligated to step in and save them. Ask yourself this: are you helping them out of compassion, or because you feel trapped by their narrative? But manipulation isn't always emotional. Sometimes it's about controlling the flow of information. A manipulative coworker might withhold critical details to make you look bad or to maintain power. In a Stoic relationship, clear and honest communication is vital. Without it, manipulation can flourish, creating imbalances that lead to frustration and distrust. Now that we've outlined these tactics, the next step is reflection. Look back on your relationships, personal, professional, and romantic. Are there patterns where you feel consistently drained or unappreciated? If so, ask yourself, what am I tolerating and why? This isn't about blame, it's about empowerment. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, and recognizing manipulation is a powerful way to reclaim that control. The next time someone uses guilt, flattery, or deceit to sway you, pause. Take a step back and ask, what is their motive? How does this request align with my values and priorities? You might feel a pang of discomfort at first. After all, we're conditioned to think that questioning others' intentions is unkind. But let me pose another question. Is it kinder to yourself to let someone exploit your goodwill, or to establish boundaries that protect your emotional health? Here's where things get exciting. Once you start seeing manipulation for what it is, you'll notice something amazing. It loses its power. You'll no longer feel compelled to react emotionally or bend to someone else's agenda. Instead, you can calmly and assertively respond in a way that serves your values. This clarity is the foundation of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to prioritize reason and integrity over emotional reactivity. Imagine this scenario. Someone guilt trips you, saying, "I guess I'll just do it myself, even though I'm completely overwhelmed." In the past, you might have rushed to their aid out of obligation. But now, with your new awareness, you pause and say, "I understand you're feeling overwhelmed, but I also have commitments I need to honor." I hope you can find a solution that works. Notice how this response is respectful but firm. It acknowledges their feelings without sacrificing your boundaries. Building this skill takes time, but it's transformative. You'll begin to see relationships through a clearer lens, distinguishing between genuine connections and those built on manipulation. And as you grow more confident in identifying and addressing these tactics, you'll find yourself attracting healthier, more balanced relationships. Now, let's bring this back to you. Think about the relationships in your life right now. Are there any where you feel like you're constantly giving but rarely receiving? Are there moments when you felt pressured or guilted into saying yes, even when you wanted to say no? Reflect on these questions and don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences might inspire someone else to recognize and break free from a similar pattern. If this resonates with you, I encourage you to like this video and comment number 1 to show that you're ready to prioritize your worth. And don't stop there. Subscribe to this channel for more insights on Stoicism, Stoic relationships, and reclaiming your power in every area of life. Your journey towards self-respect and clarity starts here, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Recognizing manipulation isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about building a life where your relationships are rooted in respect, balance, and authenticity. And isn't that the life you deserve? Stay tuned, because the next step in this journey is learning to establish boundaries that empower you and create harmony in every connection. 3. The importance of boundaries. Have you ever heard the phrase, "good fences make good neighbors"? It might sound cliché, but the wisdom behind it is profound. Boundaries are those invisible fences that define where you end and someone else begins. They're not about shutting people out, they're about creating space for mutual respect, understanding, and balance. When boundaries are clear, relationships thrive. When they're absent or unclear, exploitation and resentment quickly take root. But why are boundaries so hard to set? For many, the idea of saying no feels like a betrayal. Perhaps you fear being seen as selfish or unkind. Or maybe you've been conditioned to believe that being easygoing or always available is a virtue. These beliefs, while common, are traps. They keep you in a cycle where your needs are secondary and your sense of self is eroded. So let's shift perspective. Instead of seeing boundaries as barriers, think of them as acts of love. Love for yourself and love for the relationships you want to nurture. When you honor your own needs, you're not being selfish, you're creating the foundation for authentic connection. Imagine this. You're constantly available for a friend who relies on you for everything, from emotional support to practical favors. At first, it feels good to help, but over time, you notice something. The relationship feels one-sided. Your friend rarely checks in on you or reciprocates your efforts. How does that make you feel? Respected? Valued? Probably not. Now imagine if you had set boundaries early on. Instead of being on call 24/7, you made it clear that while you care deeply, you also have limits. How might that change the dynamic? Perhaps your friend would learn to be more self-reliant. Perhaps they'd appreciate your support more because it's not unlimited. Or perhaps they'd fade away, revealing that the relationship was built more on convenience than genuine connection. Setting boundaries can feel daunting, especially if you've never done it before. The key is to start small. Begin by identifying areas in your life where you feel overextended or unappreciated. These are the places where boundaries are most needed. For example, let's say you have a colleague who constantly interrupts your workflow with requests for help. Instead of dropping everything to assist, try this. "I'd love to help, but I'm currently focused on a project. Could we schedule a time later to go over this?" Notice how this response acknowledges their need without compromising your priorities. Boundaries aren't just about saying no, they're about redefining how you interact with the world. They require clarity, both in understanding what you need and in communicating those needs to others. This clarity is a cornerstone of Stoicism, which teaches us to live in alignment with our values. When your actions reflect your values, you create harmony within yourself and with others. But let's address the elephant in the room: pushback. Not everyone will welcome your boundaries with open arms. Some might react with anger, guilt, or manipulation, especially if they've benefited from your lack of boundaries in the past. This resistance can be uncomfortable, but it's also revealing. It shows you who truly respects you and who sees you as a means to an end. Here's an important Stoic insight. You cannot control how others respond to your boundaries, but you can control your commitment to upholding them. This is where your inner strength is tested. Will you stand firm, or will you revert to old patterns to avoid conflict? Let's take a moment to reflect on a powerful question. What's the cost of not setting boundaries? For many, it's burnout, physical, emotional, or both. You become so consumed by others' needs that there's no energy left for your own. Over time, this imbalance can lead to resentment, which poisons even the closest relationships. Now consider the opposite. What's the reward of setting boundaries? It's freedom, the freedom to live authentically, to prioritize what truly matters, and to surround yourself with people who value and respect you. It's the freedom to build stoic relationships where both parties grow and thrive. Think about how boundaries create space for mutual respect. When you communicate your limits, you're also giving others permission to do the same. This reciprocity fosters trust and reduces misunderstandings. In a work environment, for instance, setting clear expectations can prevent unnecessary conflicts and ensure that everyone's contributions are recognized. In personal relationships, boundaries are equally transformative. Consider a romantic partnership where one person always makes sacrifices while the other takes them for granted. Without boundaries, this dynamic breeds resentment. But when both partners express their needs openly and respect each other's limits, the relationship becomes a source of strength and support. But how do you set boundaries without coming across as harsh or unfeeling? The key is empathy. Approach boundary setting as a conversation, not a confrontation. Use I statements to express your feelings and needs. For example, I feel overwhelmed when I'm expected to handle everything on my own. I'd appreciate it if we could share responsibilities more evenly. It's also important to be consistent. Boundaries lose their power if they're enforced sporadically. If you say you're unavailable after 8 p.m. but keep responding to texts, you're sending mixed signals. Consistency builds trust, both in yourself and in others. Finally, remember that boundaries evolve. What works today might need adjustment tomorrow as circumstances change. Stay attuned to your needs and be willing to revisit your boundaries as necessary. As you embark on this journey, keep this Stoic principle in mind. Your worth is not determined by how much you do for others, but by how aligned you are with your values. When you honor your boundaries, you're not just protecting yourself, you're creating the conditions for a life of integrity and purpose. Take a moment to visualize your life with healthy boundaries in place. Picture relationships where you feel valued, work environments where your contributions are recognized, and a sense of balance that allows you to thrive. How does that vision feel? Empowering, liberating. This is the life that boundaries can create. Remember, setting boundaries isn't a one-time act. It's a practice. And like any practice, it becomes easier with time and effort. Start small, stay consistent, and trust that you're building a foundation for a richer, more fulfilling life. In the next part, we'll delve into how to cultivate the inner strength and confidence needed to uphold your boundaries and navigate relationships with clarity. Together, we'll explore how Stoicism can guide you toward a life of resilience and self-respect. Stay with me, your journey is just beginning. 4. Building inner strength and confidence. When was the last time you truly believed in yourself? I mean, really believed, not in a superficial way, but with a deep, unshakable sense that you are enough. Building inner strength and confidence isn't just about feeling good in the moment. It's about creating a foundation that allows you to stand tall, even when life or others try to knock you down. If you want to ensure that no one ever uses you again, this is where it all begins. Confidence, like any skill, is built through consistent effort. But let's face it, it's hard to feel confident when you've been conditioned to put others first, or when past experiences have left you questioning your worth. How many times have you stayed silent to avoid conflict, said yes when you wanted to say no, or doubted your ability to succeed? Each time you chip away at your own confidence. Let's change that narrative. True confidence isn't about arrogance or being the loudest person in the room. It's about knowing your value, owning your choices, and living in alignment with your principles. And here's the good news. You don't need anyone's permission to start. The first step to building inner strength is self-reflection. Take a moment to ask yourself, what are my values? What truly matters to me? Stoicism teaches us that a life aligned with our values is a life well lived. When you know what you stand for, decisions become clearer, and the opinions of others lose their power over you. Here's a practical exercise to help you begin. Write down 3 values that define who you are or who you want to be. Maybe it's integrity, kindness, or courage. Now think about how these values show up in your daily life. Are your actions aligned with them, or are there areas where you compromise to please others? Once you've clarified your values, the next step is practicing self-respect. This means treating yourself with the same kindness and compassion you offer to others. How often do you beat yourself up for making a mistake or falling short? What if, instead of criticizing yourself, you chose to learn from those moments and grow stronger? Confidence also grows when you challenge yourself. Think back to a time when you stepped out of your comfort zone and succeeded. How did it feel? Empowering, right? Now think about the last time you avoided a challenge because you feared failure. Which experience contributed more to your growth? Here's the thing. Fear of failure is natural, but it doesn't have to control you. Each time you face a challenge, you have an opportunity to prove to yourself that you're capable. Even if you stumble, the act of trying strengthens your resilience. Confidence isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up, learning, and improving. Another essential component of inner strength is assertiveness. Assertiveness isn't about being aggressive or confrontational, it's about expressing your needs and boundaries with clarity and respect. Imagine this scenario. Someone asks you to take on extra work, even though your plate is already full. Instead of saying yes out of guilt, what if you responded, "I appreciate your trust in me, but I'm currently at capacity." Let's discuss how we can find another solution. How does that feel? Empowering, liberating. This is the power of assertiveness. It allows you to honor your boundaries while maintaining respect for others. But let's be honest. Practicing assertiveness can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to putting others' needs before your own. That's why it's important to start small. Begin with low-stakes situations, like declining an invitation when you're too tired to attend. Over time, you'll build the confidence to assert yourself in more challenging scenarios. It's also important to surround yourself with people who uplift you. Who you spend your time with matters. Are your relationships balanced and supportive, or do they drain you? Seek out individuals who respect your boundaries, encourage your growth, and celebrate your successes. These are the people who will help you build confidence, not tear it down. Let's tie this back to Stoicism, a philosophy that offers invaluable guidance on cultivating inner strength. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and responses, while letting go of what we cannot. This mindset is a game changer. Instead of worrying about whether others approve of you, you can focus on living in alignment with your values. Here's a practical example. Suppose someone criticizes you unfairly. In the past, this might have shaken your confidence. But with a Stoic mindset, you can pause and ask yourself, is this criticism valid? If so, how can I use it to grow? If not, why should I let it affect me? This shift in perspective allows you to respond with clarity and composure rather than defensiveness or self-doubt. Another Stoic principle that fosters confidence is the idea of embracing discomfort. Growth often requires stepping into the unknown, facing challenges, and enduring setbacks. Each time you do, you're building the mental and emotional resilience that forms the bedrock of true confidence. Let me ask you this. What's one thing you've been avoiding because it feels too difficult or risky? What would happen if you faced it head-on? The fear you feel isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're on the edge of growth. Lean into it and watch your confidence soar. As you work on building inner strength and confidence, remember that this journey is uniquely yours. It's not about comparing yourself to others or meeting someone else's expectations. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, one step, one choice, one day at a time. So take a moment to reflect. What's one action you can take today to honor your values, build your confidence, or assert your boundaries? Maybe it's setting aside time for self-care, speaking up in a meeting, or letting go of a toxic relationship. Whatever it is, commit to it. If this resonates with you, show your support by liking this video and commenting number 1 to signal your commitment to building a stronger, more confident self. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights on Stoicism, Stoic relationships, and personal growth. Your journey is just beginning, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Stay with me, because next we'll explore how to navigate relationships with clarity and intention. Together, we'll uncover the secrets to building connections that empower rather than exploit you. 5. Navigating relationships with clarity and intention. Relationships are at the heart of our lives. They shape our experiences, influence our decisions, and profoundly impact our happiness. But not all relationships are created equal. Some lift us up, inspiring us to grow and thrive. Others weigh us down, draining our energy and eroding our sense of self. How do we ensure that our relationships fall into the first category? The answer lies in navigating them with clarity and intention. Clarity begins with understanding what you want from your relationships. Ask yourself, what does a fulfilling connection look like to me? Is it built on trust, mutual respect, and shared values? Or do I sometimes settle for less because I fear being alone or want to avoid conflict? These questions aren't always easy to confront, but they're essential. Without clarity, you risk drifting into relationships that lack purpose or reciprocity. Once you've defined what you want, the next step is aligning your actions with your intentions. This requires honesty, both with yourself and others. Are you showing up authentically in your relationships, or are you wearing a mask to meet someone else's expectations? Authenticity is a cornerstone of Stoicism. By staying true to your values, you attract people who resonate with who you truly are, not who you think you need to be. But clarity alone isn't enough. You also need intention, the deliberate effort to cultivate and maintain healthy relationships. This means recognizing the difference between relationships that empower you and those that exploit or diminish you. Let's explore this distinction. Healthy relationships are balanced. They involve mutual effort, where both parties invest time, energy, and care. Think of it as a dance, each step in sync, each move complementing the other. Unhealthy relationships, by contrast, are one-sided. They feel more like a tug of war, where one person constantly pulls while the other gives way. Have you ever experienced a relationship where you felt like you were the only one trying? Perhaps you reached out repeatedly, offered support, or made sacrifices, only to be met with indifference or ingratitude. How did that make you feel? Likely it left you questioning your worth. But here's a critical truth. Relationships like this don't reflect your value, they reflect the other person's inability to appreciate it. Navigating relationships with intention means recognizing these dynamics early and taking action to address them. This might involve having difficult conversations to express your feelings and set boundaries. For example, you might say, I value our relationship, but I've noticed that I'm often the one initiating contact. It would mean a lot to me if this felt more mutual. Such conversations require courage, but they also create opportunities for growth. If the other person values the relationship, they'll listen and make an effort to improve. If they don't, their response reveals where their priorities lie. This brings us to another important aspect of navigating relationships: discernment. Not everyone who enters your life deserves a permanent place in it. Some connections are seasonal, serving a purpose during a specific phase of your journey, but not meant to last forever. And that's okay. Recognizing when it's time to let go is an act of wisdom, not failure. Letting go doesn't have to be dramatic or confrontational. It can be a quiet, intentional process of distancing yourself from relationships that no longer align with your values or contribute to your well-being. This act of release creates space for connections that are more meaningful and fulfilling. But what about relationships that are worth keeping, even if they're challenging? These require intentional effort to nurture. Communication is key. Healthy relationships thrive on openness, where both parties feel heard and understood. This means not only expressing your thoughts and feelings, but also actively listening to the other person's perspective. Consider this scenario. You and a close friend have a disagreement. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to become defensive or dismissive. But what if, instead, you paused and asked, "Can you help me understand where you're coming from?" This simple question shifts the focus from conflict to connection, fostering empathy and mutual understanding. Navigating relationships with intention also involves managing expectations. No relationship is perfect, and expecting perfection sets you up for disappointment. Instead, focus on what's realistic and meaningful. Ask yourself, what do I truly need from this relationship, and what am I willing to give in return? This balance of giving and receiving is vital. Stoicism teaches us to approach relationships with gratitude and generosity while remaining mindful of our limits. By giving freely without expectation and accepting others as they are, we create space for relationships that are both resilient and rewarding. Finally, let's talk about self-awareness. The quality of your relationships often reflects the quality of your relationship with yourself. If you struggle with self-doubt or insecurity, you may seek validation from others in unhealthy ways. But when you cultivate self-respect and confidence, you approach relationships from a place of abundance rather than need. Self-awareness also helps you recognize your role in relational dynamics. Are there patterns in your behavior that contribute to conflict or imbalance? For example, do you have a tendency to overextend yourself, avoid difficult conversations, or hold on to relationships out of guilt? Identifying these patterns is the first step toward breaking them. As you navigate your relationships with clarity and intention, remember this Stoic principle. The only person you can truly control is yourself. This doesn't mean resigning yourself to toxic relationships. It means focusing on what you can change and letting go of what you cannot. Think about the relationships in your life right now. Which ones bring you joy, support, and inspiration? Which ones leave you feeling drained, used, or unappreciated? Take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, what can I do today to nurture the relationships that matter and release the ones that don't? Navigating relationships with clarity and intention isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about making conscious choices that align with your values and contribute to your well-being. And as you grow in self-awareness and confidence, you'll find that your relationships become not just sources of connection, but also catalysts for your personal growth. Stay with me as we continue this journey. Next, we'll explore how to transform pain into power, turning the lessons from challenging relationships into stepping stones toward a stronger, more resilient self. This is where the real transformation begins. 6. Transforming pain into power. Pain is a universal experience. Whether it stems from betrayal, exploitation, or disappointment in relationships, it's something we all face. But here's the key. Pain doesn't have to define you. It can be the very thing that fuels your growth, strengthens your character, and empowers you to create a better future. This is the essence of transforming pain into power, a shift in perspective that can change everything. When someone uses you, it hurts. It's easy to dwell on the injustice, replaying moments in your mind and wondering how you let it happen. But ask yourself this: what if those experiences weren't just moments of weakness? What if they were opportunities for growth, revealing what you truly value and what you will no longer tolerate? This shift in mindset begins with one simple yet profound realization. Pain is a teacher. It shows you where your boundaries were too loose, where your self-worth needs reinforcement, and where you might have ignored red flags. It's not about blaming yourself, but about owning your part in the story so you can rewrite the next chapter. Let's start by reflecting on the lessons pain has taught you. Think about a time when you felt used or taken for granted. What did that experience reveal about the dynamics in the relationship? Perhaps it showed you the importance of setting boundaries, or maybe it highlighted the need to choose your connections more carefully. These insights are gifts even if they came wrapped in discomfort. But understanding the lesson is just the first step. The real power lies in applying it. For example, if you've learned that ignoring your instincts leads to painful outcomes, how can you start trusting yourself more? If you've realized that overextending yourself leaves you depleted, how can you begin prioritizing your needs? Stoicism offers a powerful framework for transforming pain into power. One of its central teachings is the idea of focusing on what you can control. You can't change the past, and you can't control how others behave, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to view pain not as a setback, but as a stepping stone toward a stronger, wiser version of yourself. Here's a practical exercise to help you reframe painful experiences. Write down one relationship or situation that hurt you deeply. Next, list 3 lessons you learned from it. Finally, write one action you can take today to apply those lessons. This process isn't about erasing the pain, but about transforming it into a source of strength and clarity. Pain also has the power to deepen your empathy. When you've experienced being used or mistreated, you gain a unique understanding of what it feels like. This awareness can make you more compassionate toward others who are struggling. But here's the key. Compassion doesn't mean sacrificing your boundaries. It means offering kindness while maintaining self-respect. Another way to transform pain into power is by sharing your story. When you open up about your experiences, you not only free yourself from the burden of carrying them alone, but also inspire others to face their own challenges. Have you ever shared a painful experience with a friend, only to find that they've gone through something similar? That connection can be incredibly healing for both of you. If you're watching this video, you're already taking a powerful step toward growth. You're seeking insights, tools, and strategies to ensure that no one ever uses you again. This journey requires courage, but the rewards are immense. Each step you take, each lesson you apply, brings you closer to the empowered, confident person you're meant to be. Think of someone who has overcome incredible challenges and emerged stronger. Maybe it's a public figure, a loved one, or even yourself. What qualities did they demonstrate? Resilience, determination, self-awareness? These qualities are within you too. Pain may have introduced you to them, but it's your choice to cultivate them. As you reflect on your journey, consider this. Pain doesn't have to close you off. It can open you up to new possibilities, stronger relationships, and a deeper understanding of yourself. It can teach you to value what truly matters and let go of what doesn't. But transformation isn't a one-time event, it's a process. There will be moments when the pain feels overwhelming, when you doubt your ability to move forward. In those moments, remind yourself of this truth. Every step, no matter how small, is progress. Every lesson learned is a victory. And every time you choose to respond with strength and wisdom, you're reclaiming your power. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to like this video and comment number 1 to show that you're ready to transform your pain into power. By doing so, you're not just engaging with this community, you're affirming your commitment to your growth and self-respect. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Together, we'll explore more ways to embrace Stoicism, build Stoic relationships, and create a life of purpose and resilience. Your journey doesn't end here, it's just beginning. In the next and final section, we'll bring everything together with a call to action that empowers you to prioritize self-respect and choose growth over validation. Stay with me, because you won't want to miss it. 7. Choose self-respect over validation. Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path leads to self-respect, a life where your decisions align with your values, your relationships are rooted in mutual respect, and your sense of worth comes from within. The other path leads to a life dictated by the need for external validation, seeking approval, bending to others' expectations, and constantly wondering if you're enough. Which path would you choose? The answer might seem obvious, but in practice, it's not always easy to walk the path of self-respect. Why? Because seeking validation is tempting. It offers a fleeting sense of security, a momentary reassurance that you're valued. But here's the catch. Validation from others is conditional. It shifts with their moods, expectations, and perceptions. When you rely on it, you hand over control of your self-worth. Choosing self-respect, on the other hand, requires courage and consistency. It means standing firm in your boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable. It means prioritizing your well-being over others' approval. And it means accepting yourself fully, not just your strengths, but your flaws, mistakes, and vulnerabilities. Let's break this down. What does self-respect look like in action? It looks like saying no when a request doesn't align with your priorities or values, even if you worry about disappointing someone. It looks like ending a toxic relationship even if it means facing the discomfort of loneliness for a while. It looks like pursuing a goal or passion, even when others don't understand or support it. But here's the thing. Self-respect isn't just about what you say no to. It's also about what you say yes to. It's about choosing to invest your time and energy in people and activities that uplift you. It's about embracing opportunities that challenge you and help you grow. And it's about treating yourself with the same kindness and care you offer to others. Stoicism provides valuable insights for choosing self-respect over validation. One of its core teachings is the concept of inner virtue, the idea that true fulfillment comes not from external achievements or approval, but from living in accordance with your values. When you focus on cultivating inner virtue, you become less concerned with how others perceive you and more committed to being the best version of yourself. Let's apply this to relationships. In a Stoic relationship, both parties respect each other's autonomy and individuality. They don't cling to unrealistic expectations or demand constant validation. Instead, they support each other's growth and share a mutual commitment to authenticity. When you approach relationships with self-respect, you set the tone for this kind of connection. But choosing self-respect doesn't mean you won't face challenges. There will be moments when the pull of validation feels strong, when you're tempted to compromise your values to gain approval or avoid conflict. In those moments, pause and ask yourself, what am I truly seeking here? Will this choice bring me closer to the life I want to live, or will it take me further away? This pause is powerful. It gives you the space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. And it reminds you that your worth isn't something others can grant or take away. It's something you claim for yourself. Self-respect also requires self-awareness. It means recognizing when your actions or choices are driven by fear, insecurity, or the need to please others. And it means having the courage to course correct when you notice these patterns. Consider this scenario. You've been working long hours at a job where your efforts go unrecognized. You stay because you fear judgment or instability if you leave, but deep down you know this situation isn't serving you. Choosing self-respect might mean having an honest conversation with your employer about your contributions or exploring new opportunities that align with your skills and goals. These decisions aren't easy, but they're transformative. Each time you choose self-respect over validation, you reinforce your sense of worth. You build confidence, resilience, and a life that reflects who you truly are. As you reflect on this journey, remember that self-respect isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about making choices that honor your values, even when it's hard. And it's about being patient with yourself as you navigate this path. Take a moment to visualize your life when self-respect becomes your guiding principle. Picture relationships where you feel valued, not used. Imagine waking up each day with a sense of purpose, knowing that your choices reflect your true self. How does that feel? Empowering, liberating. This is the life you deserve. As we bring this journey to a close, let's take a moment to reflect on the powerful insights we've uncovered together. Life is full of relationships, opportunities, and challenges, but one truth stands above them all. Your worth is not defined by how much you do for others or how they perceive you. It's defined by your integrity, your values, and your unwavering commitment to yourself. You've learned the importance of recognizing manipulation, setting boundaries, building inner strength, and navigating relationships with clarity and intention. You've explored how to transform pain into power and how to choose self-respect over the fleeting allure of external validation. Each of these steps is a piece of a larger puzzle, a life lived with purpose, authenticity, and resilience. But this is just the beginning. The journey of self-respect and growth doesn't end here. Every day presents new opportunities to practice what you've learned, to stand tall in your values, and to strengthen the relationships that truly matter. There will be challenges, yes, but there will also be victories, moments when you realize just how far you've come. So I ask you, what step will you take today? Maybe it's setting a long overdue boundary, expressing gratitude to someone who supports you, or simply taking time to reflect on what you've learned. Whatever it is, know that each step forward is a testament to your strength and your commitment to living a life of self-respect and purpose. Thank you for joining me on this transformative journey. Your growth inspires not only yourself but also everyone around you. If you found value in this message, remember to share it with someone who might need it. Together, we can create a ripple effect of self-respect and authentic connection in the world. Here's to a life of courage, clarity, and self-respect. Wishing you strength and wisdom as you continue your journey. Stay true to yourself, you've got this.